2.5 hours long. He spends another 9.5 hours to speak to every single one of his participants. This is really a one-on-one consultation. It's crazy if you think about it. It's a 12-hour shift in which he finds out exactly what you're about. This is what KS's masterclass is all about. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Today we are going to be talking about a huge topic. So you've done well for yourself over the last couple of years and you've now attained a nice sizable budget and you're thinking of investing in Singapore's real estate. With a blinding array of products available in the market, be it resale or be it brand new. Is this a good time to be going into making this investment? What to buy? Is it even a good time to be making this investment? And if it is, what is a fair price to be buying at? Well, the answer lies in the all-seeing, all-knowing guru of human wisdom called Google. And when you ask Google this same question, you get stacks upon stacks upon stacks of real estate professionals in all shapes and sizes trying to educate you on the different types of products that you can buy, whether it might be for $0 or whether you can spend little money and get 2 properties and stuff like that. Well, hopefully after meeting our guest today, you'll have a clearer answer of where and who you should be putting your money with. This man is KS Tan. This is his story. This is KS Tan. KS, thank you very much for your time. And KS, as you all would already know, you would see this box appear right below me. This is the work that KS has done on the internet. He is a real estate professional who has had tons of experience and has worked with developers and marketing analysts to provide information to the end user like you, buyers, regardless of whether you are first-timers or savvy investors. You only know what you know, but KS is here to fill you in on what you don't know. So KS, can you share with us what was your journey like as a real estate agent and then moving into, can you call it property guru? Almost. Have you always seen yourself as an educator? Is that why you came into the line of seminars instead of, as opposed to being a normal agent and cooking production? Isn't that like better? Which one has more benefit monetarily or to yourself? Why did you decide to go on this line?
Sure. I think back to the question of 11 years in this industry already. The very first reason why I was even doing or stepping into this industry was the fact that it draws you the level of so-called income that you, as long as you work hard, there's no income cap. So that was the very first reason why I was even drawn into it, and hence, so to speak, production and monetary so-called reward or remuneration is definitely something that was after. But through it, probably about a good 8-9 years after doing numbers after numbers, month after month, you then reach a certain level of so-called lethargicness of are you going to be in this so-called rat race forever? It itself is a rat race because how different agencies actually put their so-called performing agents on the pedestal on a month-to-month basis. You would know that you are being recognized given what you have done in terms of production. So by way of services, I've not really seen a company, being an agency, actually mention a lot of so-called credential for people who have done tremendous services to their client. It's never about the service, it's always about the production. So, and of course, in that journey of 8-9 years before I decided to then go on to this webinar thing that I'm doing today, I think what we wanted to do was always production, always money, and money itself means what? It means closing more deals. It's not about service, it's not about how many people have you helped, right? So in that instance, definitely we do a lot more so-called sales speech that is trying to get someone to buy something, and that itself you will probably, at the end of it, what are you trying to get out of this so-called pursuit? I felt that pursuit itself actually made me pocket deep but spirit and soul weak. So why I say that? Because it become meaningless. I actually just want to close deal. I could have done or said things that would have actually changed the trajectory of someone's life because I want them to buy something and I'll make the money. But not knowing that this will actually make someone's life harder to live by because they make a wrong investment decision. Yeah, and that itself is something to really reflect through the years because I did some soul searching along the way when I felt that this was not correct. Yeah, and of course when in a way at first of a realtor journey, I would think that first thing first, when you are first in this industry, first thing you look at is probably production. After production, then next thing you look at is how can you grow, and the next thing to grow is of course either recruitment or you take on the new role. So for me, what I did was I did both at the same time, and that's where I was able to then hold a team size of not big back then, it's about 20 over people.
That's big, man.
Yeah. And thank you for that. Then what happened was that also lead me to my next so-called promotion. So I then be promoted to the what I did was I managed to be the top performing agent for that entire year of 1-2 to 1-3.
And that was in which agency?
That was in KF Property, which is Knight Frank.
Okay.
So that itself actually brought me to my next level, which is being a product ambassador. That's where I work very closely with developers and where I got to do pricing analysis with them, marketing with them also to know how are we going to launch this product in phases or not, depending on the size of development, etc. And I was doing that for the entire year without doing production. So my production was actually very, very bad. But with that in mind, I grew tremendously because that one whole year was when you talk about someone going to a monastery to become a monk, right? This is my monk journey. In fact, I just there to really know how the top-down things. We are basically at the receiving end of how the top actually, or the stakeholders project the market to be. That's why I think that understanding how the mindset of these developer are thinking or how they price their product and of course how they launch it is very important because we are the receiving end. And that will then give us the projection of how the market is going to look like in so-called the next 3 to 5 years or even 7 years down the road. Yeah.
And so for the benefit of people who are not familiar with this term, product ambassador is the guy, if you go to a show flat and listen to any of the agencies speak about the product, he's the guy. This is very good insight because if you know how the developer thinks, then you will also you need people like this to advise them on what to price it at. So the insights that they can give you, guys like that can give you, you could say priceless. So as a product ambassador, when you were so tightly knit with, can you name a few developers that you were working with, or is it like a bit sensitive?
Sensitive.
Okay. When you were with a developer, did they pay you a monthly salary for what you were doing? What kind of work did you have to take on? Was it more senang or was it less senang than when you are doing your own production as an agent?
Sure. Okay. So we are all self-employed, so to speak. So we don't get a salary. Okay. So with that, what is the role? What's the new role of this project ambassador? First thing first, we got to work with the developer very closely to get all the A&P, which is the advertising and promotion things up in terms of understanding their price tag and how we're going to roll it out from time to time before even the show flat is open to finally where viewers are able to go to see the show flat, so to speak. So that is just one portion of it, but how am I being paid and how was the remuneration looks like? I just be very transparent here. Basically when you are at this role, you no longer takes individual deal commission. So what we hit is based on KPI. So if the company hits a certain level of sales on the launch day itself, we get a small cut of it. Alright, and depending on the agency size they are in, it will then create that level of volume, which then also then translate to how much so-called that small cut of that size you're looking at. So back then I was in, like I mentioned, Knight Frank. So size wasn't a big company. So that itself didn't really able to fit that kind of so-called production I used to be doing. But that beside the point, I guess is a very good learning journey because it allows you to really think ahead of think 10 times or at least 3 times ahead of what people are thinking in terms of making investment, because you know the roadmap and of course all the stakeholders are involved, what their mindset are like, and that actually translates to the next thing of who are beyond the stakeholder, which is the developer, right? So beyond that, that's where this webinar was formed, and that's where we talk about the so-called urban transformation. That is mainly the topic of what I touched on the webinar.
Can a first timer look for you, or is it just savvy investors who have like a large portfolio? Or
sure. Okay, so this masterclass itself doesn't discriminate anyone, right? In fact, it's really an eye-opener of reframing how the cultured investor purchased property in the good old days. So one of the so-called cultured way of investing is freehold is always a good investment. I wouldn't use that sentence as a wrong or right question. I just want to share that this is the traditional way of how investors think, because you can hold on to it forever. It means that it must be something good, because good things last forever, right? So with that, a lot of people do not know what does this so-called freehold properties comes with in terms of as a product attribute. So I will cover a lot of it in the webinar itself, and then you can then dictate yourself or take notes from there whether this is actually something good or not good, because different people have different perspective and different people buy things because of different intention. So this masterclass is solely for you to understand the fundamentals of investment on the new age of where Singapore is actually continuing progressively actually increase in population, of course in wage as well, and also in terms of the urbanization of the country, so to speak. Yeah. So with all these things coming together as one, I think it's very different from how we were in emerging markets back then to how we have become a first world capital city today. So the investment fundamentals has definitely need to grow and need to change. So that is what I am bringing on the table to share with you everyone what they need to look out for given the new way of investing. I bought like overseas property. I also have bought, of course, my investment property, which I use it for sale as well. Okay, and why do I make those choices along the way? Is it because I really want to test it out and see my theory really works? That's one of the main reason actually. But of course, beyond that, what is so much more important to me is that what triggered me to make those decisions. And that is something that I wanted to know every single buyer at that level, if I were to work with them, to know what is that compelling reason. Understanding that reason and the purpose, right? And of course, we then can ask the right question to then finally understand how the goal or the target board looks like. Because the target board itself is basically a reason why you want to do it. Alright, and my job here is basically the guide holding your hand to that eventual goal by going through the fastest way and the best way to get there. Yeah. I think what a lot of people miss out on is being just a facilitator. If you're a salesman, it's like, okay, what do you want? Okay, you want 5 beta. What size do you need? Which location do you need? Do you need unblocked view near MRT, things like that? I call this being a facilitator, because you're asking questions based on need. But what if you are coming from a place of why do you want this? But would a client even want to tell you that because they barely know you? And I think that you need to be able to create value and service, and that's where people trust you with those deep insights that they have or deep reason that they have that's rooted inside them why they are doing certain things they are doing today. And once you are able to re-engineer this thing to know that compelling reason, you are then able to find the right product that gives you the level of so-called trajectory that the investor or the home buyers is looking at. I think that is so important.
So what you're saying is, in a nutshell, what he has just shared with us is what we know in the industry as order taker. I want in this location, I want near MRT, I want near hawker center, my budget is this, you go and find. So basically order taker asks what you want to buy, what is your price tag, I go and find. So that's typically, your approach is different in that you ask why. You ask why, then you can ascertain the what. Essentially, he is representing you. He's representing the buyer, the person who has come and signed up for his course. So if we are talking about being on the right side of the fence, if you were to imagine an imaginary line, KS is on the side of whoever signs up for his course. If I'm the sales agent today, I'm on the side of the fence of whoever is paying me to sell his house. So it's a very, very different ballgame. So what KS is saying here is he's on your line. So if you sign up, he's going to give you his opinion and all his years of experience on equipping you with what you should be doing, and more importantly, the why. Technology is bringing us to a point where the middleman is going to be eradicated. That's happening for agents as well. So what is it agents can do to secure their rights more?
Sure. Is there any value that you're going to add to the prospect that you're dealing with? So if you're saying that, you know, everybody's doing a 600,000 transaction for a 5-room flat in an estate of this block, or maybe a 5-room flat, like I said, and the highest floor is done for maybe, for example, 650,000. Okay, and you're dealing with someone today, you're acting for a seller, same block, same estate, that one maybe 650,000 as well for a second floor unit. So the question here is, if you can do that, why wouldn't he engage you? But if you're going to go to him and tell him that, hey, look, you know, the top floor is 650,000, you're on the second floor, maybe 580,000 for you.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Then you would say 580,000, might as well I sell myself, because by nature it's really 580,000. Yeah. So only if you can show him the compelling reason why you can do it, and you can convince him at the same time with track record to prove that wow, how different you are, the X factor that you have, then I guess you will still be in this trade for the long time. But of course you're just going to be like anyone and say that, hey look, because it's going to be 580, so you're going to get 580, then likely so you'll be eradicated, like you said.
A lot of agents end up being glorified drivers. So, and we've all heard of the horror stories of one agent bringing a buyer to view 40 houses. I don't think you need to bring your buyers to 40 houses. I don't think that is on the plate at all. It's not a consideration. So as a agent, you're saying that if you want to still be in the market, you need to bring value to the customer. Yes. Other than just being a driver and just being an order taker, what you want to buy, what's your price tag, I buy for you, I go look for you, and then I drive you around. If that's your thing, then that's your thing. But as what KS has said, this is the way into the future. If agents want to still be relevant to the industry, this is something that you have to do. So more importantly for the viewers, for the consumers who want to engage an agent, what value is your agent bringing to you? So if they are not going to bring you the value that you need for the purpose of your objective, which is your property, then maybe you got to rethink why you are using this agent. Unless of course he's your relative, but sometimes that makes things even worse. What was your history like prior to becoming an agent? I understand last time that he used to be a model. Then he also in NS, he was more elite than the rest of us. Maybe you can start with NS first.
Right, I was in the commandos, SAF commandos. So I guess what is so good about that journey of 1 year, 10 months was that it taught us about getting things done. And what it means in this context is that, especially right now where information are overwhelming everywhere, we talk about this digital age, right? So rather than just collecting information, especially as the investors out there or any so-called practitioner out there as well, we just keep on collecting information. One guru say this, one guru say that, you know, at the end of the day, which guru is correct, and then these two guru maybe basically quarreling with each other, right? So rather than overthinking and overanalyzing, what Commando taught us to do, or taught me to do at least, is to just do first and talk later. So by having that mindset of just do first and talk later, even if it's not correct because your mind likes to go overthinking, right? You could also at least find out whether it works or not faster. So with that, it boils back down to why did I even invest the property that I invested in UK previously, and why do I do what I do in terms of my own personal investment, that I use it for investment and stay. And that is basically back to this principle. Do first, trial A/B testing whether this thing works or not. If it doesn't work, you don't lose, you learn, right? And of course, and when you learn, you grow. And for me, it's about a growth journey that I'm going after. And of course, learning from that experiences altogether to tell a story, or at least to let people know if it failed, what is the takeaway from it, right? So I guess it's very important that doing first rather than just analyzing it so crazily that it paralyzes us. Yeah.
So for those of you who are not aware, KS bought a Zone 3 UK property back in the day when he was stuck with his BTO property. So it's not a journey that is recommended for everyone. Again, KS would, his basis for his entire webinar is based on the why. He wants to find out why you will want to buy an overseas property, and thankfully for him, he didn't make a loss on that one when he exited. So, but his experience is not going to be the same for everyone. Some people will have made a loss and they will have considered themselves lucky. He was the most fortunate to come out of it relatively unscathed. So that is what he did with his UK property. Whether or not it's suitable for you, an in-depth discussion during his webinar would be better. And mind you, his webinar is 2.5 hours long, so go to the toilet before you start. And this is more important. The key point is he spends another crazy, it's 2.5 hours long, I say again, 2.5 hours long. He spends another 9.5 hours to speak to every single one of his participants. This is really a one-on-one consultation. It's crazy if you think about it. It's a 12-hour shift in which he finds out exactly what you're about, why you want to do things. This is what KS's masterclass is all about. So this is a unscripted part of the show where I like to ask off the script kind of question. So KS, if today Bill Gates were to give you a call saying that he has a global lucky draw and you won for yourself the top prize of $1 billion, you check your DBS account, yes, is there $1,000 million inside your DBS account? What are you going to do from tomorrow onwards?
Okay, first and foremost, I do have a DBS account, so that is quite compelling. And I guess what we want to probably look into is your why. So that's what I do. So I guess if I have an AI or an algorithm that allows these individuals who are interested to invest to fill up a list of questionnaire, which will then dictate their personality or their investment appetite or risk appetite, that could then help me to even decipher them better on what kind of product that can give them a certain level of investment strategy or product. Right. So you see, some people may say that they want this, but their heart is telling them a different thing. So their mind and their heart is not connected. So by touching on the heart rather than the mind, I guess we are able to then connect these two together and then give them the so-called bulletproof plan altogether. So that AI of that questionnaire or that algorithm, so to speak, would be that something I would like to really look into.
To find out everybody's needs and help people to connect their brains to their hearts. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this has been a nice chit chat with KS, and I hope that you have gotten a lot of value based on what he's just described to you. If this is exactly what you've been looking for, then congratulations. In the video description below will be a link to his webinar. Till next time, this has been Realty with JT and this is KS. Everybody stay safe.